Last night, our guest Brenda shared her story of spending 26 years in prison for killing the man she said abused her. Then we got a call from a woman who said she was desperate to flee from an abuser herself.
He's going to kill me, to shut me up, and I don't know what to do.
We will show you what happened after the studio cameras stopped rolling. Okay, so a reminder, this is our Sex and Relationship Wednesday, but we are going to be moving across a great body of experiences tonight. We're starting with Brenda Klubine. She spent 26 years in prison for having murdered her husband, whom she claims abused her for years. Now a free woman, Brenda continues to fight for the freedom of abused women still imprisoned, many of them for having killed husbands and lovers. Now last night, your story created quite a response. We had one call we're going to examine in just a minute. I want you to watch a little tape first of how you reacted to some of the conversation yesterday. Take a look.
I just wanted to thank Brenda for all that she's doing. My mother is Glenda, and she's currently serving a life sentence. She was in prison with Brenda, and I can say to that caller, why don't they leave? It all has to do with fear, and we lived with that fear. He beat us also. Now I'm paying the ultimate price for believing I should be able to have a voice. He's going to kill me just to shut me up, and I don't know what to do.
All right, so we had a lot of experiences, you and I, yesterday out here.
Yes.
So let's quickly recap your story so people understand that. I'm going to visit a little bit of tape about that, one of those callers we just heard from, and then we're going to take more calls. So you killed the man that was abusing you.
Yes, I did.
He lured you back to your apartment. You hit him over the head with a wine bottle.
Yes.
Hours later, he died.
Yes, 16 hours later.
Bleeding under his skull. He had an epidural bleed, that's called, or a skull fracture.
Yeah.
And then all that abuse was something that was not admitted in the court, right?
Absolutely. They kept saying that the victim wasn't on trial. And so therefore, they would not allow me. Every time I tried to testify about instances, about things that had happened, because it was in 6 months, I had 42 police reports. So that should tell you there was a huge problem, and nobody was protecting me. Not the police, not, you know, the restraining order that I paid for wasn't worth the paper that it was printed on.
But now it's somewhat different, right? These stories are being told. And Glenda, the woman whose daughter we heard from, is someone who's still caught in this web. We were calling out Governor Brown yesterday to help us and approve a new law that would help more of these women be able to represent their cases with the abuse.
Well, currently, AB 593 and AB 1593 is on Governor Brown's desk. And what these would allow is Glenda, Heather's mother, to have the chance to petition back to the court to gain her freedom after decades in prison.
And she's a woman that went in at age 44, still incarcerated.
And is now 68 years old.
It makes you very sad. You're just thinking about it.
Yeah, it breaks my heart. Yeah. And many of my sisters are still there, and they need to be home.
What do you mean your sisters? What do you mean?
I call them my sisters because we're family. We share a bond that people can't really understand. It's hard for people to understand.
Women that are abused.
Absolutely.
Share a bond.
Absolutely. There's something there. You know, we used to say, you know, all these abusers came out of the same cabbage patch, because it was a way of being able to understand, you know.
And so you guys would form a sisterhood in prison.
Yes, I started a support group for abused women called Convicted Women Against Abuse in the Chino prison.
So amongst the sisterhood is sort of growing out amongst hardened criminals.
Absolutely, absolutely. But these were women that had to protect their lives. This wasn't, you know, these weren't career criminals that, pardon me, that had been in trouble over and over again. These are people, this was a first-time offense, and unfortunately, it was either their life or their abuser's life.
Okay, now I want to watch a little bit of tape about what happened yesterday. We had a caller who seemed to be in one of these situations. You spoke to her after the show, and I really appreciate it. I wanted, before we watch this tape, something I did say to Brenda yesterday is that her recovery, and you have a certain amount of dread on your face when I talk about this, she's an inspiration. She becomes an attraction, a source of inspiration to other women who are suffering. Watch what she does here for this young lady.
You can be strong, you can do this, girl, you can do this. You're not alone, okay? You are so not alone. And I know it feels that way. I've been there, okay? I've been there. Call that hotline number that I gave you. okay? And let them know what your situation is and that you need help right away, okay? That's why it's so important that you contact that hotline, because you need a local advocate and a counselor that can be with you and hold your hand and let you know that you can do this.
That was, by the way, shot just on someone's iPhone yesterday to document what you were doing. Not an unusual conversation, I bet.
Absolutely not. That's what I do. I do advocacy work. I started a domestic violence nonprofit 2 years ago, and I do this every day.
Let's get some more calls. Let's see who we've got up there calling in tonight. Do we have anybody wanting to speak to Brenda? This is Sandra in California. Sandra?
Hi, Dr. Drew. Thank you so much for focusing on this issue. I've been an advocate for the release of battered women mothers in prison for 26 years.
Fantastic.
And
do you guys know each other?
Yes.
Oh, Sandra,
yeah.
Okay, you guys know each other. Good, because if you didn't, you should.
Well, I know each other. I live alone in the foothills. I kind of do the five mountain counties, and I just keep kind of focused up here. I don't always get to the Capitol, but believe me, I have been to the Capitol many, many times. I've been legislating since, I don't know, since the 80s.
And Sandra, let me just ask a quick question. What is our message to Governor Brown here in California?
That there is absolutely no history of repeat offenses for domestic homicide. These are isolated cases. These women must defend their lives. If there is no intervention for the perpetrator of abuse, then that woman is going to have to defend her life.
Sandra, thanks for that comment. I want to take a quick call from Courtney in Oklahoma. Courtney, you've got something for us?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Drew.
Hey, Courtney, what's up?
I was just wondering, Brenda, this question is for you. When did you realize in the relationship, how long were you in the relationship of him abusing you before you realized, hey, I have to get out because this isn't good?
You know, the problem with it was that I didn't know. I still was so caught up in it. Coming from an abusive childhood, I didn't know there was such a normalcy in it. I wasn't sure. I didn't know when he was losing his temper, when he was putting his fist through walls, when he was putting his fist in my face, when he was shaking me, throwing me across the room. Those were the times that I knew I wasn't probably going to make it out alive.
This is the craziness of that kind of circumstance, which is that in those extreme violent situations, the attachment to the perpetrator actually intensifies.
Absolutely.
And people don't get that. And,
no, they don't.
And it really isn't until you believe your life is in danger.
Exactly, exactly. And people inevitably first, right away, always ask, why doesn't she leave? There are so many reasons. If there was just one, it would be great. But there isn't one reason. Financial, mental, emotional. You are attached. If there's
and your
children,
history, and your history,
absolutely.
and children, and he's going to kill you if you. I mean, there's so many reasons. And we talked about this last night. A lot of women start to go dead inside.
Absolutely.
They have nothing spontaneous.
You're broken.
And they can't come to their own defense.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, this is the same feeling I had last night, Brenda, which is like somebody sitting on my chest.
I know.
You know that feeling. It's your feeling.
Yes, I do. I do. I live with it every day.
Still.
Every day, absolutely, because my heart breaks for victims, and because I've been there, and I know what it feels like to be alone, and I know what it feels like to reach out and feel like nobody's hearing you. That's why this is so important.
Brenda, we are hearing you tonight. I think other women that have walked in your shoes hear you and are attracted to what you have to say. I hope we've reached some people. I want to give a helpline. It's 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-SAFE. If you are in, whether it's emotional abuse, whether it's physical abuse, if it's just emotional, it's going physical eventually. So
absolutely.
Please call that hotline, get advice, talk it out. Brenda, I'm hopeful to have you back soon. We can keep this conversation alive because this is an important topic. Yes, please.
I think I need to thank you for caring enough to deal with this issue. And if it wasn't for Sin by Silence and Assemblywoman Fiona Ma and her team, these bills wouldn't be on the governor's desk. So, you know, it takes strong people to help make that difference, and I thank you so much.
You do the hard work.
Thank you.
I just get to admire your work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.